Okay, I'm back again, another job, never seemed to end. It's JoeAntonio, and today we've got a problem with our faithful Honda lawnmower. So this one's actually my mum's, and I look after it for her. So what we have is a Honda HRU196, so it's a 19-inch cart, 6 horsepower Honda motor. It's about looking about 10 years, maybe 12 years old. It's been very faithful, very good condition. We haven't done much over the years, changed the wheel and filters, that sort of thing. So not too much goes wrong with them, they're very reliable, but unfortunately this one yesterday, mowing the grass, and we struck a bit of a fuel leak to start with, and then we had just basically stalled and wouldn't restart. So we've just switched on the fuel tap, and we haven't got any fuel leaking at the moment, but I know it does leak, so I can smell fuel now. And we'll just try and start it up. There's no attempt here to start up when I pull that cord. Usually you'll have an attempt to fire, but this is not showing any of that. Now, so I know we've got a problem with the fuel. I know this is leaking through the carburetor. Probably the overflow might be a float problem within the carburetor, where it's sinking, so it keeps pumping fuel through because the float's broken, or it could be the gasket on the carburetor itself. So we'll look at that in a minute, but the first thing I always do with so you need three things to pretty much start a motor. You need compression, which I can feel by pulling that cord, it's got plenty of compression, and the other thing you need is fuel. You know, the fuel tank's full, and the third thing you need is spark. Okay, we're back again. So now I have my socket to pull the plug. So we've got a socket plug on there that's suitable, and we've got a wrench. So remove the spark plug cap and just push that to a side. Okay, power plug's in the front. And that was very loose, that plug. That plug was very loose. So first thing I'm going to check now is, before I even pull that plug, is just put that back on and just a reattempt to start that. One of the problems I said in the beginning was that you need compression. Even though I felt like it had compression, okay. Alright, so I thought the plug, sometimes you find these plugs you don't want to over tighten those plugs, and they're not put in very tight. Sometimes they can rattle loose. And if they're too loose, they won't hold compression. If there's no compression, it won't start. So that was my first thinking when I went to loosen that plug. So this is a whole problem-solving exercise. So you go through a process of elimination and work back from the cheapest problem to the most expensive, because you don't want to start down an exercise of an expensive repair job, and it ends up being a $2 spark plug. So that's that's usually where I start. Find out what is the problem from the cheapest to the most expensive, working backwards. Now, I could take this to a lawnmower shop, and I've described that wholeheartedly, and to be honest, I was on my way to the lawnmower shop yesterday, drop it off because I really don't have time to be playing around with lawnmowers and fixing motors, and I've got so many other jobs. So it was, pay someone a few $100s and they'll fix it for you. I don't think there's a lot wrong. So, but when I turned up at the mower shop, it was closed, and basically it was another trip for me to get back out there, and so I just chose, look, I'm just going to pull this down, have a quick look at it myself. I usually, if, like I said, it might be a $2 part, might be a $20 part, and you're back in action, and saving $200-300 is important. Okay, so I'll pull the plug. I've put it on the top cover here, which is metal. So what we're doing now is checking for spark. We've got the plug sitting on the metal, earthing it out. So what we should see now is a spark coming from that plug. Don't have to pull it real hard. Drop off a bit. I actually can't see that plug sparking, and I can't hear it, which is a bit of a concern. So what I'm going to do now is just kill the lights and see if we can see that, a better visibility on that spark. Okay, I'm in the dark now, and I've brought the camera up closer so we'll get a better look at this, and hopefully you can see it now. So the best thing to do is, if you can't quite hear or see the spark, put it in a dark area. And I can clearly see that spark now. You don't want to touch that spark plug. If I've got my hand on the insulator here, if you touch that plug and pull this cord, you will get a shock. And if you can see it now, you can see the spark firing. It's pretty strong. I've seen stronger, but there's plenty of spark there to start this motor. We probably should change this plug out anyway. I would usually like to see a bit better spark than that, but it is there, it is sparking, and it is consistent. So there's not a problem with that plug starting this motor. Okay, so we're just going to put this, put the lights back on. Okay, we're back again. We've checked the plug. It looks good. It's sparking well. We'll end up replacing it anyway as part of this process, purely because it's good practice, as this has got a few years on this plug. The plug's very clean. You can tell a lot from a plug. It's no oil on this plug, so that tells me that the oil ring inside the motor is fine. There's no oil leaking on here. I can't see much carbon. There's a bit of carbon around that edge. Overall, this plug is in really good condition. I'm just looking at it. So I'm going back to the fuel problem. So what we can, before we start pulling the carburetor apart, we can just use a product. It's called Engine Start. This is used for petrol and diesel engines and 2-strokes, 4-strokes. It's an ethanol based product, high ethanol. So what this does is helps you an engine fire. You can put it into a carburetor. In this case, I'm just giving it a quick squirt inside the bore while the plug's out. It dries out pretty quickly, so you don't want to muck around too long getting that plug back in. Like I said, you can spray it, take the air filter off and spray it down the throat of the carby. I personally like to take the plug off. Now I don't necessarily think this will start. What I'm hoping is to have a So, sorry about the loud noise, that was just the mat that we're sitting on. So what that tells me now is that's a good indicator we've got a fuel problem. Okay? That engine then, with the starter put straight into the bore, fired up, it wasn't an issue. So we've got compression, we've got spark, and we've got fuel. The problem is that when it's running, as it was yesterday, and it had been running for about an hour, it was a hot day, and there was fuel leaking from the bottom of the carburetor. We've got a fuel problem here, and that's confirmed it. She started up fine once I put fuel straight into the bore. We're honing in on the problem now. This is, like I said before, we're working our way back. We've checked the plug, which is the cheapest part. Now we're moving on to the carburetor. I'll pause it here. I'll get the machine up on the bench and we'll have a look at the carby.